Hey, we're joined on the phone today by Dr. Robin Zasio. You might know her from her years on the TV show Hoarders on the A&E network, and Hoarders back for its 10th season. Dr. Zasio, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Good morning.
It's great to be speaking with you. I'm such a huge fan of yours.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm excited about the new season of Hoarders here on A&E. Can you tell the listeners a bit about what's in store for the new season?
Absolutely. So something that's different about Season 10, which airs on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is that they are 2-hour episodes. So, our goal has always been to educate the public with this show about the condition and what treatment looks like. And now having 2-hour shows will really allow us to give the viewers much more information, help them better understand the treatment and some of the struggles that people come up with. And I will definitely say that we're seeing even bigger hoards than I think we've seen historically, which is sometimes hard to believe.
Yeah, that's saying a lot for the listeners out there who have kept up. The last 9 seasons, there's definitely been a lot of interesting stuff over the years. So, I mean, if it's some of the bigger ones we've seen, that's saying something.
It absolutely is. But, there's a lot of people out there struggling, and we just got to keep this fight to keep going out and helping people and letting them know that treatment is available.
Well, Doctor, I wanted to ask you when the idea of hoarding kind of came into prominence. I know a lot of people, myself included, I had a grandmother who I can definitely recognize now watching the show that she was one. But, back then we just kind of thought, these people just don't want to throw stuff away. You didn't really understand what was going on.
Yeah, and that's why, there's always a therapist or a doctor on the show, because it's not just about, trouble letting go of stuff. There are psychological factors that are contributing to the problem, and it is so important that people understand that they've got to deal with those psychological factors, because the risk, as would be with any condition, to return back to that behavior is magnified. And we just really stress and reinforce that this is not about a cleanup process as it is about a psychological mental health condition.
And again, the new season of Hoarders is back on A&E, and I know in the past, you don't really get a lot of follow-up, I guess, of how things go, a couple of years down the road. Are we finding that often people are falling back into their old ways after the camera crews have all gone?
Yeah, unfortunately, the recidivism rate of people who return back to the behavior is higher than I think we would, really like to see. But, the A&E has really done this show good by having a therapist, by having the organizers, and having all the necessary means to help an individual. And I think that that's just really important, as is with any condition, is we want to do it right, and they have showcased it. And part of that includes giving them aftercare once we leave.
And I'm always interested, I guess, in the logistics of the show itself. I mean, because you guys are all over the country and all these different locations popping up. Do they fly you guys out? Or, I mean, how does that work behind the scenes, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so we do come from all over the country. And, usually it's about a week process of between travel and helping the individual. And, we all have lives, too. So that's one question that people say is, why don't you stay longer? And that's because, we do have day jobs, that, we do have families, and, we can only do, as much as we can within the short period of time, which is why it's so important that people do use that aftercare once we leave.
Yeah, I guess maybe people just used to seeing you on TV all these years, maybe forget that you're an actual doctor who is doing stuff outside of the show.
And we have lives, and, just like we want to help the people that we're working with promote balance, we want to maintain that same balance.
Well, Doctor, have there ever been times on the show when you've gotten to a place and you just said, I'm out of here. This is too gross. This is too dangerous, or anything like that ever happen?
Oh, absolutely. I've been in countless situations where, structurally it's not safe to be in there. In other situations, it hasn't been safe because the level of contaminants that are in there make it unsafe. And, a lot of people are living in these really painful conditions, and sometimes it takes more than what we can do out there, because sometimes we do need to look at having a biohazard crew come in and take over for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably couldn't understand how you could live like that. But, as I mentioned, I've had a history of it in my family, and people just kind of become accustomed to it, and then it just seems normal, I think, after a while.
Yeah, and that's really the key, because a lot of people will say, how can they live like that without realizing that, this is a process that has occurred over time, that it just didn't happen in one night. They just didn't go on a wild shopping rampage that weekend. And that they get used to it. And I think that that's something really important to remember. A lot of people say, I could never get used to that. But, the brain does adapt to situations that they maybe thought that they wouldn't adapt to.
Well, again, the new season of Hoarders is out now on A&E, and I know you've been on other shows and written books, and you've got a lot of other stuff going on. Is there something else maybe we should be looking out for you?
No, I am focused on my work in Sacramento and focused on supporting A&E in the new season. And we have to just remember that it's the viewers that keep us going. And thank you for showcasing this show and bringing light to it to your listeners. And we just hope that we'll have more seasons to come.
Excellent. Again, I'm excited for the new season, and as I mentioned, watching the show, I kind of gotten an insight into my grandmother and how things have worked, so I think that does a lot of good for people.
Absolutely, and again, we are just really honored to have you take the time to let us talk about the show, because it's pretty important to us, and we know there's a lot of people out there suffering.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Doctor. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. And again, that was Dr. Robin Zasio, a part of the TV show Hoarders on the A&E network. And Hoarders is back. Its 10th season is on now.